Before leaving, my friend simply made a brief suggestion about certain species of trees that the soil here seemed particularly suited for. He did not force the point, for the very good reason, he told me later, that Bouffier knows more about it than I do. At the end of an hour's walking, having turned it over in his mind, he added, "He knows a lot more about it than anybody. He's discovered a wonderful way to be happy." It was thanks to this officer that not only the forest, but also the happiness of the man was protected. He delegated 3 rangers to the task and so terrorized them that they remained proof against all the bottles of wine the charcoal burners could offer. The only serious danger to the work occurred during the War of 1939. As cars were being run on gasogenes, wood-burning generators, there was never enough wood. Cutting was started among the oaks of 1910, but the area was so far from any railroad that the enterprise turned out to be financially unsound. It was abandoned. The shepherd had seen nothing of it. He was 30 kilometers away, peacefully continuing his work, ignoring the War of 39 as he had ignored that of 14. I saw Elzéar Bouffier for the last time in June of 1945. He was then 87. I had started back along the route through the wastelands, but now, in spite of the disorder in which the war had left the country, there was a bus running between the Durance Valley and the mountain. I attributed the fact that I no longer recognized the scenes of my earlier journeys to this relatively speedy transportation. It seemed to me, too, that the route took me through new territory. It took the name of a village to convince me that I was actually in that region that had been all ruins and desolation. The bus put me down at Fergon. In 1913, this hamlet of 10 or 12 houses had 3 inhabitants. They had been savage creatures, hating one another, living by trapping game, little removed, both physically and morally, from the conditions of prehistoric man. All about them nettles were feeding upon the remains of abandoned houses. Their condition had been beyond hope. For them, nothing but to await death. a situation which rarely predisposes to virtue. Everything was changed, even the air. Instead of the harsh, dry winds that used to attack me, a gentle breeze was blowing, laden with scents. A sound like water came from the mountains. It was the wind in the forest. Most amazing of all, I heard the actual sound of water falling into a pool. I saw that a fountain had been built, that it flowed freely, and what touched me most, that someone had planted a linden beside it. A linden that must have been 4 years old, already in full leaf, the incontestable symbol of resurrection. Besides, Vegon bore evidence of labor in the sort of undertaking for which hope is required. Hope, then, had returned. Ruins had been cleared away, dilapidated walls torn down, and 5 houses restored. Now there were 28 inhabitants, 4 of them young married couples. The new houses, freshly plastered, were surrounded by gardens where vegetables and flowers grew in orderly confusion, cabbages and roses, leeks and snapdragons, celery and anemones. It was now a village where one would like to live. From that point on, I went on foot. The war just finished had not yet allowed the full blooming of life, but Lazarus was out of the tomb. On the lower slopes of the mountain, I saw little fields of barley and of rye. Deep in the narrow valleys, the meadows were turning green. It has taken only the 8 years since then for the whole countryside to glow with health and prosperity. On the site of ruins I had seen in 1913, now stand neat farms, cleanly plastered, testifying to a happy and comfortable life. The old streams, fed by the rains and snows that the forest conserves, are flowing again. Their waters have been channeled. On each farm, in groves of maples, fountain pools overflow onto carpets of fresh mint. Little by little, the villages have been rebuilt. People from the plains where land is costly have settled here, bringing youth, motion, the spirit of adventure. Along the roads you meet hardy men and women, boys and girls who understand laughter and have recovered a taste for picnics. Counting the former population, unrecognizable now that they live in comfort, more than 10,000 people owe their happiness to Elzéar Bouffier. When I reflect that one man, armed only with his own physical and moral resources, was able to cause this land of Canaan to spring from the wasteland, I am convinced that in spite of everything, humanity is admirable. But when I compute the unfailing greatness of spirit and the tenacity of benevolence that it must have taken to achieve this result, I am taken with an immense respect for that old and unlearned peasant who was able to complete a work worthy of God. Elzéar Bouffier died peacefully in 1947 at the hospice in Banon.